Hey, welcome everyone. This is part one, an introduction to the live stream game series I'm doing. And although this live stream series is focused, well, it's obviously video games, it's focused more on the game's music than just playing the game. So if you want to get hoity-toity about it, this is a ludogmusicology project. So starting in August, I'll be doing a big live stream project that walks through video game music history. Starting in the 80s, I'll play games from the 80s to the 90s, 2000s, up to the present decade, discussing their music and how the music in that game relates to music trends that are current and historical trends. So this is the introduction to that series, and I'm starting with Heroes 3. Heroes 3 is, I'd say, unique because it was released in 1999 and it follows this orchestral pattern in its music composition. Everything you'll hear is pretty much an orchestral instrument, but the music itself was synthesized. The synthesizers are great in this game, but because of its unique position where it has this orchestral tint or tilt, it offers insights and a good starting point whether you look forward in music history or backwards. So, starting with Heroes 3. So, I think just some thoughts that channeled the live stream. I think it's a mistake to approach video game music purely in an academic fashion or a scholarly fashion. And I've had some experience doing that, and I've enjoyed it. But that's not what I'm going to do in this live stream series. I'm going to try to approach video game music starting at what it does in the game, what it does for the gamer, and from there seeing where we can go with it. Because there will be some scholarly stuff, but I'm not going to use any difficult or made up words. Well, I hope I won't make up any words. I very well might. But the focus is to appreciate the video game music for what it is and what it offers musicians, gamers, and just listeners in general. Now, to do that, I will be tying in a healthy dose of my listening research. That's my niche, listening, and showing how that factors in, how that can factor into your experience as a gamer, how that can factor into your experience as a musician, or someone who's just enjoying the music. So let's dive in. Today I'm going to be playing one of my favorite campaigns, Realm of Chaos. The reason being, this campaign gives you access to every town, each of which has a unique song, a unique piece, and it also gives you access to every type of terrain, which each has unique music. So we're going to do a 3-part series to explore all that music. And before I start, I'm going to introduce the tower theme. Here's how things will work. I'm going to introduce a song or piece if you want to get picky about it. I'll introduce a piece before we hear it and share some analysis, share some ways that you might want to engage with the piece, and then we'll just sit and listen to it, because if I'm playing, it's going to be harder to listen to it. We'll just listen to it once, so after we listen to it, we'll get on with the game. So that's the way things will work, and we're going to start by exploring the Tower Town theme. That's my starting town. It's a town of wizards and creatures that in Heroes 3 are associated with wizards and their lands. It's a perpetually snowy place, and I feel that's reflected in the music. So one thing to note, this is a longer theme for a Heroes 3 game. The track is almost 3.5 minutes long, maybe a bit longer. And so the instrumentation, it's almost all strings. You have some plucked strings, some bowed strings, and a little percussion in the back, but primarily a string orchestra setup. You do have woodwinds come in later on, and then there's a big moment where the strings, the first instrument you'll hear, stop, and they're replaced with voices. So a really unique feature about this theme in this town is there are these delayed or staggered big beats. In music, it's standard that you get to beat one, and you want that to be really clear, and maybe even stronger than the other beats to give some measurement to the piece. But here in this theme, those beats are staggered or kind of blurred. So instead of a clear beat, it's fuzzy because of the instrumentation and because of the way the sounds were programmed. So it gives this really organic feeling to a synthesized piece. It's just an interesting feature to notice. So there's some analytical elements, and there are other elements. I think you can tell there's a story going on in this song. There's different moods that you could apply to Wizards. There's eccentricity, there's some comical aspects, and there's also intense aspects. And so you can engage with all of those as well as a listener. So let's dive in and give this piece a listen as we start this scenario. Now, one thing to note, if you're not familiar with Heroes 3, a lot of things you do, you pick up items, you pick up treasures, they trigger a musical little riff. I'm not going to analyze those, I'm just going to analyze the soundtrack pieces. So here goes. So we're going to go destroy evil, rid the world of evil. Yeah. From there, like most video game music, it loops. And now, if I start building stuff, doing stuff in my town, the music becomes obstructed, and you just can't hear it as well, and it's worth just taking time to listen to. It's really good music. Always enjoyed this town theme. It's hard to find a piece in this game that I don't enjoy. This one is especially fun. It's longer, so there's more to it. Now, a quick introduction to the new piece before we get into some actual gameplay. As soon as I leave the castle and step out onto the snow, there's a theme for walking on the snow. And this theme has a key feature. There's a sound effect, so it's not just music, but there's a sort of roaring wind sound in the background. It's mostly comprised of low strings with a high violin that comes in afterwards. A slow piece, very methodical, kind of heavy feeling. And it's a really lonely and barren sound. What makes this song good to me, if I were to say what makes it a good piece, it hits a really perfect balance. I guess I should turn off the tower music really quick while I tell you about the other stuff. But the snow piece hits a great balance because it's a slow piece, and slow pieces have to maintain their momentum. And this piece does that. It maintains its momentum and keeps its interest, even though it's slow and still. It's really easy to imagine the kind of cold and loneliness that this song captures. So let's give that one a listen. It's shorter than the one we just listened to. So here I still hear the town theme. I step out, and the snow theme starts up with the sound of the wind. So we'll give it a listen. And we loop. So getting into the game, now we've introduced that music. The musical motif, so we grab that treasure. I'm going to grab an extra hero. This is expert. I'd like to have one. So I can get more done quickly. Have to backtrack less. My go-to, I'd like to make one hero as strong as possible, but that's not always an option. Excellent. More music. So it doesn't take long before you realize how much sound there is in the game that just overrides the soundtrack. So if you don't take time to familiarize with it and really think about it, then it'll disappear. will just vanish and you won't really get to engage with it. So my go-to strategy when I play on a higher difficulty level is to quickly eliminate an opponent or two, because they get boosted resources on you, so it's well worth quickly taking one out, because they can grow faster than you can. So get over to them quick, take their stuff so you can grow quick. Oh dear. Forgot to get my spell points. What a shame. It is funny thinking about games like Heroes 3. The soundtrack is so good, but the game can be so fast-paced that you don't need to engage with the soundtrack. It's this kind of funny paradox. I remember back in the day when I was a slow Heroes 3 player, I just wasn't quick at the commands. There's a lot more time to listen, but then you get good at it, and you don't have to engage with it in certain ways, so it's funny how that works. And there you have this snippet of this piece that, I mean, there it was, and then it's gone. Okay, there's blue. Got a good sized army, but with my chain lightning I'll be fine. I hope. Alright, let's see how this turn goes. Perfect setup for chain lightning. Just what I wanted to see. More groups. Let them shoot me first. If you get too close to these guys, they'll do more damage to you. So let them shoot me at a distance. Let's see, I've got a chain lightning left. So I should be able to take this blue hero. Now if I step on the dirt, we'll get into a song that I'm not supposed to introduce till later. But really quick, we need to pause so I can introduce the... Nope, not that. The grass theme. The grass theme is really interesting to me. I'm going to end the day so I can come out and step on the grass. I'll go back to the snow so you don't miss any of the song. So the grass theme, I would describe it as a neo-Baroque piece. And now the Baroque period of music was a European musical movement from 1600 to 1750. And when we say neo-Baroque, what that means is we're drawing on that period, the Baroque period, but we're also tying in other aesthetics, other philosophies to the music. So you get some of both. So this neo-Baroque movement, you start with the strings. The strings start out plucking. You have background noises as well, some birds singing. I think there's a bird outside, so unfortunately we had some birds singing in the snow. And the bowed strings come in, and they weave in and out in this really intricate kind of web of lines of music. And another neo-Baroque element, there is a harpsichord that gives this nice texture to the bowed strings. It gives this little bite. And so the piece is quite interesting. I think that the overall effect is more a sensation than, say, one musical idea that you'd like to engage with. Um, this sensation or experience, it's not still or bitter like the snow. It's really live feeling, like the feeling of going out in spring, and there's the strong scents. Here where I live, there's strong humidity, and all these things come together to form this really potent experience. So here's the grass theme. Starts with some wind and bird chatter, then we'll get into the strings. It fades out. So it's interesting, not the sort of thing you'd listen to like actively. I don't think so. Not me at least. But yeah, some really clever stuff going in there. So once again, oh bother. I went to the cast theme too early. Didn't introduce it. Stop playing. Um so yeah, it's so interesting that there's so much going on in this music. You have these contrapuntal or independent lines, and they're all working together. Really well crafted music, but you can just walk right past it because you're not listening, you're not paying attention. So there's lots of that in this game. Or if you just sit and kind of put yourself in the spot of the music, there's a lot to take away. So now the castle theme. This one's interesting. It has a really simple melody. It's still a strong piece though. And when I say simple melody, it's not the kind of piece you'd go around singing. It's just a scale. Ba-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee. You know, and then it does that again, and then it varies it a little bit. But it does have really great textures. Right off the bat, you get this sort of militaristic feel with the snare drum. There's sense of nobility and pomp that come with these big dramatic swells, and there's even a piccolo trill that cries military, especially in this context. So about halfway through the piece, we have this nice change from the really grand military type feel to this more regal feel as the harp comes in, and we have this more flowing section that kind of, to me, depicts the beauty that symmetry and order bring. And then there's this dark moment towards the end. Things get intense just for a second. And I mean, you can interpret that as you will. It's like, oh, there's this strict side. There has to be this harshness in situations like this. But with a really simple theme that unites the whole piece, we have all these moods and all these, I would say, environments. So it's well done, I would say, this piece, once again. I like this music, if you couldn't tell. Let's give it a listen. Now the flowing section. A little dark bit. There's the castle theme. It loops back, and we go on. So it's interesting as you consider this music. A lot of music that we listen to, especially more instrumental music, it is made to be not only listened to but performed. And it's easy to put a lot of emphasis on that. Oh, this music is for performance. But video game music, it's an interesting niche, especially in scores like this where it could be performed, but it doesn't have to be, and wasn't made with performers in mind. It was made to be played on the sounds made for this game. And so that's what we hear, that's what we get. And there's this whole question that we could dive into. It's like, oh, not finding a few manticores. Not with you, anyway. It's like, how do you engage with music that's meant to be listened to when it's so different from most music that we do listen to? That's always interesting. I'm always intrigued to discuss listening in particular, because I feel like we just don't know how to intentionally do it, and if we don't, then we won't. And then we could have beautiful music all around us and not really hear it, which seems a shame to me. And that hero is not going to live to see the morrow. What a shame. Well, she's a scout. It happens. So I'm not going to discuss any of the battle themes today. I'm going to save those for another day. There are 8 towns to cover total. But today I'm just going to do 3 of them. And I'll do the battle theme on the last day when I only have 2 towns to cover, fortress and stronghold towns. Alright, I've secured my stuff. Now no one can come and take my towns. So there, for example, the grass songs just started playing, but all we heard was the bird song opening. So now my land's getting attacked. It's fine. They can't take me. Now both my towns are well fortified, so I've really got nothing to worry about. Except blue being annoying, stealing my gold mine. I didn't know if we'd get a big battle like this that goes on for more than a few seconds without me fabricating it. Oh, that's rotten luck. Okay, good. Now these halberdiers should walk right across those mines, which will be what I want to happen. But yeah, the battle themes, very percussive. This isn't my day. Poor genies. That's what I wanted to have happen. Like it in the update where the mines do more damage than Heroes 3 Complete. So a note about myself as a gamer. I like to play video games a lot. I'm not terribly concerned with optimizing everything all the time. I can generally sense when I'm not optimizing, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go back and change anything. So if I'm stressing you out by not playing Heroes 3 flawlessly, well, focus on the music. Because that's what the stream's about. So they're coming back. And the castle here. And then in a minute I'll head to the rough terrain, which is shown on the map by presence of dirt. In earlier games they did call it the dirt theme. And funnily enough, the dirt theme, especially in Heroes 2, is some of the prettiest music you'll find. It's so nice. There they got lucky, and another musical figure that depicts something happening in the game. And it's hard, because here, I would dive into the, this song, and what I like about it, what makes it tick, but the battle's going to be over, and, well, right now, then we get our victory fanfare, and we're on the way. Blue's kicked out. Green's being annoying. Purple's being annoying. I will stop them from being annoying. It'll be a little risky. We'll see what happens. I do like to take risks in video games. It's a video game. What better place to take risks? Well, I'll mostly protect the marksman. And then I moved away, so I guess I didn't. So I just need to position it so I can grab that magic well before I fight them, so I have 2 spells. I think I got too close. They might come attack me. Then things will get hairy. We'll see. Okay, green just has a raiding party. I'll go get them. You get that nice little snippet of the castle theme. Oh, they didn't attack me. Wonderful. Perfect. Next turn. Finish them off. Finish this little hero. Another great example of how you have music, but it lasts for just a second. Oh, they even ran. To prove my point. I need ore. Stealing all my treasures. Rude. One of my favorite things about Heroes 3 as a game. 10, 16. It's just how many different ways there are to win. So here I have this tiny army versus this bigger army. It's not massive by any means, but a little strategy and some spells. I will win. It's a very good thing I was able to recharge my spell points. Otherwise, this wouldn't have looked so good. And even now, it's going to be tight. Okay. Oh, do I have a magic arrow left? I do. Should have used that a second ago. Oh well. There's this purple bloke. Go chase him out. Get my giants. And then with this army, should have no problem going and getting Tan. And it'll be in Tan's land where we'll hear the last 2 songs for today. The Rough and the Rampart Castle Town. We'll see if they run. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Yeah. Alright. Run away, run away. Need more spell points. Oh, they fought me. I thought they'd run. So I'll let them come to me. Won't get hurt as easily that way. That's why they should have run. Upgrade my guys there. And into the rough. So to talk about the rough, here we have this really unique instrumentation. We start with the French horn and the harp. Not a combination that I see everywhere. And so that's an interesting just choice, but I think it's really effective. So let me finish doing this little work. And then after those two instruments come in, we have these low strings enter. There's some ambience also. It's like a soft wind, something like that. But this is pretty much how the piece works out. You start with the harp accompaniment, then the horn comes in, some strings come in, and a clarinet enters then, and it kind of does this duet with the horn. And now, it's interesting. At one point, the strings that have this counter melody, they are interacting with this duet between the horn and the clarinet, but they come in at a louder dynamic. They're more present than the duet is, which is really interesting, but I think it, again, speaks to this idea that there's music for, for listening. And so, you know, most musicians, I think, would agree you always want to hear the melody. But in this moment, the melody is surpassed by a counter melody. But I think it's extremely effective. So it's a kind of sad, heavy piece, but not overexpressed in any way. So I'm probably going to have to fight these liches first to hear it, but after we fight that, we should be able to hear it. So if you stand too close to certain things, you'll get the sound effect from that. So I don't want the sound effect from this shrine, or the fountain. Okay, can I hear the dirt song now? Here we go, here's the dirt song. Or rough. So horn, then clarinet answers. Then the strings come in. It's like all the voices are equal, but in a minute the strings will be the most present. And there's the rough theme. So it's interesting that I feel like not every video game composer takes advantage of the space created for video game music. Because it's really, especially in the early days, it's like, what are the rules of video game music? What makes a good video game piece? And I felt like the rules were pretty limited. It's like, well, do what you want. And I mean, in video game music, you can have pieces of any genre, any length. Not at this time, they need to be shorter back then, but nowadays you can. And so it's so interesting to see what composers do with it, and I love that idea where they, in this case, took a piece and flipped an expectation on its head, saying, I want the counter melody to be more present than the melodic figure that we've introduced this whole time. So I love stuff like that. It's so fun to think about. And again, I think it comes back to this idea that it's music for listening less than it's music for performing. Sorry, I was talking, got distracted. Typed by Marksman. Defend, which was a mistake. Cost me a Marksman. Maybe it cost me a Marksman, maybe not. But still, there's nothing as satisfying as a battle where you don't lose anything, so... I don't think Solmir's going to come back here. Usually I let him get all the scholars and such, so we can have that one really overpowered hero. He will have to come back here, so I'm going to start building up my mage guild with him better spells. So all my spell points, not. So this is going to be a battle won primarily by spells, because they have all their troops in there. No way I'd win that in a straight fight, so I won't do a straight fight. Purple's back. With a bigger army. Good thing it's a new week. First priority, get rid of those grand elves. Those things hurt. And then, like I was saying about the piece rough, the rough terrain theme, how you kind of can play by whatever rules you want. The Rampart theme, this castle, which we'll hear in just a minute, is also really interesting in that regard. You'll hear the opening, and one of the instruments you'll hear is the sitar, which, if you were thinking about performing a piece, it's like, oh, well, we need a sitar to start. It would probably have to be a sitar-centric piece. This piece is not, but because it's not meant to be performed, you can throw in the sitar right at the beginning and then move on. So really using the space well, I think. See if I position this right. This will hit one of my guys. Perfect. Only hit my golems that have magic resistance. Alright. So, the Rampart theme. See if there's anything else I gotta mention about it. So I would say it's not a melodic piece. The bulk of it isn't focused on melody, but once again on atmosphere and environment. And again, just like the strings in the rough theme, there's this moment where this counter melody is louder than the primary melodic material. So really interesting choices, and again, a piece that is made to be listened to. Really pleasant, really well crafted, just nice to take in. And right off the bat, it has such a unique and distinct flavor just because of the sitar. So I always love to hear stuff like that. So hopefully this will keep that down. Just a couple takeaways. Oh, as they take away my treasure. Oh well, it's what I get for being aggressive right off the bat. But a couple big takeaways. I think Heroes 3, I like to categorize it as a primarily neo-baroque soundtrack. Lots of examples, excuse me, where you have contrapuntal or independent lines of music, lots of harpsichord being featured in the soundtrack, which is just, it's fun. I'll speak of the harpsichord. It was interesting. I was listening to some of the St. Matthew Passion by J.S. Bach and just noticing some similarities between the overall textures in Heroes 3 and that. And there's this idea where things are more about texture, and I would even say environment, than about a specific melodic function or just one melody. You know, the idea that that one melody has to be so present all the time. The score does not hold to that idea. It's fine to do whatever it wants and to experiment. And that creates really unique music to listen to as you're playing. But once again, a lot of the time you just need to take a second to listen, otherwise it's just nice background music. Nice background noise, I should say. So to wrap up, just gonna get this purple guy out of my town so I'll be well positioned tomorrow to start and head into their land where we'll get some new songs. And my plan to circle back around and get these treasures really didn't work out well. In the words of J.C. Denton, what a shame. So, oh well. I took out 3 guys really quick, at least. Which was my opening plan. Alright, final battle. Once again, we'll show the power of magic as I, with 9 guys, take on his 140, 150, something like that. Nope. Don't want to surrender. Easy peasy. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for joining. More tomorrow. Save. We'll do this Ludo game. All right, and catch you next episode.